Hello, and welcome to your favorite podcast, comics and collectibles in the crawl space. As usual, I'm your host, your fourth or fifth favorite podcaster, Kevin. And I've got two. We're already doing better than we did last week at the beginning. Amazing gentlemen with me. You want to say hi, Patrick?
Hey, everybody.
And then the one and only, the awesome speculator, Mike. Want to say hi, Mike?
Hello, everyone.
I know you love that speculator
Yeah.
moniker, so I figured I'd throw that in.
I love it whenever I'm on, and I really don't like it when I miss like for a mile, by a mile.
Well, that doesn't usually happen. That's why I keep insisting that we keep calling you that.
I miss quite a few. I just don't televise it.
You don't share the misses.
Yeah,
I guess
I have long
sense.
boxes of misses.
Okay, so I wanted to actually start today's show with a notification, I guess, to everyone watching, and share it with all your friends and family that we have a website now. I've got this little video of a scroll through of our website. This is a mobile version, but of course, you can see it on desktop, which is better actually. So,
yeah.
But we've got kind of all kinds of fun things on here about the podcast, what we sell on eBay, some special posts like your post, Mike, about what to be on lookout for. You saw we have a couple reviews up there too. I'll try to update that as they come through. I think you can only have 3, but that's Mike's current be on the lookout for post. I put that on there. It's on Facebook, of course, but it's on there. A nice little quote there. I love that quote. I'm fond of that quote. Then you can join our mailing list. I don't know what to do with that. I can assure anybody who joins our mailing list will not be shared with anyone else either. And then links to all our social platforms, and then a little picture there at the end. It's actually a gallery that you can go through. Did you guys see all that? Was that clear?
Yeah, it was great.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to say good job on all. I know you did all that layouts. Looks good.
Yeah, I tried. Just playing around. So I appreciate that. I hope everybody else aside from us loves it as well, of course.
Yeah, and it's a lot different looking at it from on a phone to a desktop.
Yeah,
it looks so good on the desktop.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm finding,
yeah, I agree.
I even went to Facebook on the desktop for the first time in 5 years, and wow, I was lost. It's so different.
Yeah. Hey, did you mention that one time, Patrick, that Facebook is you usually get on Facebook on your computer, right? And then the mobile looked weird for you or something. Did you mention that one time?
Don't recall,
No?
but yeah.
Okay. Do you usually get on your mobile too, or is it?
Yeah.
A mix?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like Mike. I never get on Facebook at all on my computer at all. So
It's just
when I do,
a lot of podcasting and listening I do at my desktop at work. So
yeah, okay. All right, so I mentioned to you guys before the show I had an idea. And as much as I like to refer to Mike as the speculator, I like to identify myself as the idea guy.
Right.
And, honestly, I don't know amongst the group whether that's a good or a bad thing, or whether they agree or not, but I still use it because I like to call myself that. So I have an idea. And here's the idea. It's called the Fun Fan Freebie. Okay? Mm-hmm. And we can adjust any of this, whether it be the stupid name I came up with to the content of what I'm getting ready to tell you and everything in between once we do it. What it is a way to connect people to not only obviously watching the live stream, but also listening to the podcast. Not only our Thursday show, which is only a podcast, but also the edited down live stream podcast that I post on Mondays, because in my opinion, it's a really different experience. Way better audio wise. Obviously, it can't compete video wise, but way better audio in my opinion. The way I edit it down and get rid of the ums and the pauses and all that, which isn't really that annoying when you're on video. But if you're on video, it's like, oh my God, that was horrible. But anyway, to not only connect people to the podcast, but then also connect people to the website. So I'm going to come up with a phrase every week, and I'm getting ready to say today's. And the phrase will be 3 words. And the first word of the phrase is sun. Okay? Now, you'll get the second word of the phrase by listening to the Thursday podcast. And I'm not going to make you have to listen to the whole thing, because I don't even know how that works as far as what we get credit for or anything yet. So I'm not even going to try to play around with that. But right after the opening of the Thursday podcast, I'll say the second word of the phrase. Or actually, I messed it up already. Right after the opening of the edited down live stream podcast, I'll say the second phrase. And then, the second word of the phrase. And then on Thursday, right after the opening, I'll say the third word of the phrase. And then you have to message me through the website the answer, which will be just those 3 words together to create a phrase. And then I will, and you want to message me the answer, as well as, multiple things, your favorite comic book character, maybe a book you're looking for, maybe a game you're looking for, or a card if you're like into TCG games or whatever, anything like that. And here's my limit. This isn't going to be too crazy. I'm not getting rich here, but basically it has to be a modern cover price or less. So that goes across the board. If they send me the answer and they say, Wolverine's my favorite character, I'll probably go buy the newest Wolverine and ship it to them. I'll cover the shipping. But if they say
United States.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that. Continental United States. But if they say, hey, I'm missing, Spawn 300, well, that's a $10 book in there. Actually, I might be able to get it for cheaper than that. Anyway, I guess I should say cover price up to, let's say, a DC Prestige cover, $5.99, right? Is it $5.99? Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So that's my max. Mm-hmm. But I'll, anything up to that price, $6, geek related, comic book, game, whatever. You send me a message through the website with the phrase, the fun fan freebie phrase.
So is it the first person to do that?
Exactly, one person. Okay. And I have 2 rules on it. 1, you can't be affiliated with the show. All right. So neither one of you can do it. Okay. And neither can our family members.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's why Johnny heard about this. He's like, I'm not gonna be part of that. I need that. I want that free book.
Yeah. And I don't know all of the pin checks, of course, but I don't care if it's a pin check I've never heard of from Pennsylvania. I'm gonna assume they're affiliated with you, Mike. But anyway, and then the second rule I want to come up with is you can only win once a year. I don't want the same one guy that decides this game is cool to get a free thing from me every. Do you think a year's too much? Maybe a month. Maybe a month. What do you think?
Well, there's only going to be 4 average a month. Let's go a year. I don't know. Let's go a month and then adjust. See how things work.
All right. So as of now, you can only win once a month, and we'll revisit that statement
next month.
It was in a month. Okay. Well, I was going to say July. Let's revisit that statement in July.
Oh, okay.
That'll give it 2 months, of experimenting. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it resets at the end of the week. There's a new contest every week.
See, this is why I need you guys. No, Patrick. Yes. Well, yes and no. Yes, it can be a new one every week, but it won't change until someone gets it.
Okay.
So, like hypothetically, no one participates this week. Next week, I'll remind everybody about the contest and that the first one is Sun. And then I'll do the same thing, that I did this week until someone gets it. But once it's gotten, then the next week it'll be a new one. So,
Yep.
So yes, no is the answer.
All right, it's good.
What do you think?
Sounds good.
Is that fun?
Yeah, it sounds fun.
Oh, and as soon as someone gives me the answer, I'll make a post for not only the website, but also all of our social media. Hey, the Fun Fan freebie phrase has been,
Solved.
Yeah, solved. Whatever word I need to use there, and so don't keep sending me messages. Somebody already got it. Stay tuned next Sunday. So anyway,
all right.
So you guys think that sounds like a pretty good idea? We'll see how it works. Basically,
Definitely.
All right, cool. Glad to hear you say
I can see the relief on your face. You're like, thank goodness. Because you always work really hard on selling your ideas. And
man, when I thought about that, that's exactly how it goes. And I do that by myself before I do it with you. I come with an idea and I'm like, oh, that's so awesome. And then I'm by myself with no one else around. I'm like, well, the guys hate it. And then I start to stress over that. That's just me, Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is the poll and question results for what I attached to the podcast last week. I think we talked about it without you around, Patrick, last week, but then I think you mentioned it. Ironically enough, we talked about it and you mentioned it in the post of the podcast or the live stream in social media that you can only see these questions and polls through Spotify, no other source. That's accurate, right?
The Spotify app specifically.
Oh, it's not even like if you're online
desktop.
If you can't see that information on the desktop now.
Either one or can you see? You can't see any of it.
Mm-mm.
It's got to be it's got to be the Spotify app. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So last week's poll, I kind of try to, of course, attach it to the content of the show. Was what superhero would you like to meet in person? Okay. Thinking about the giant Batman, of course. I got two answers, and this is something I don't know who voted, but one picked Wolverine, and the other one picked Spider-Man. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Personally, I would have picked Wolverine as well. So anyway, I don't even know if I can vote, but anyway, that was the voting part of it, and then the question was, what do you think of the edited down live stream as a podcast? And I'm going to be honest and say no one answered, but the dishonesty in me wants to tell you I actually did answer. So if you went and saw it, you'd see an answer, but it was me. Yeah. And I put that it still needs some work, but it's getting there. So I'm really interested to hear what people think of a live stream edited podcast. Because, yeah, I got bad news. I haven't even told you guys this. I guess I can tell you while we're doing this now that we actually have a podcast with 0 listens. And it's a live stream podcast, edited podcast. So there's a bunch of views on the live stream, but there's none on the podcast. So that's what I'm trying to, convert, get that converted over somehow. Because, man, that goose egg on that one podcast really, every time I look at it, I'm like, man, big fail. So it's distressing for me.
I'll have to go through and try to find one that I didn't listen to. Because since we've gone to the video,
You guys are doing the videos, right? Exactly, which makes complete sense. Yeah.
But I don't need to because I do it while I'm driving, and I just listen to it. So I should just go to the.
Yeah, just listen to it on the podcast.
Yeah.
And like I told you anyway, I think the podcast edited live stream is a different experience anyway. So I need some feedback on that from y'all as well. So
yep,
check it out.
Yeah, to go back, I would need Spider-Man.
Huh?
Because I would be Spider-Man because he's fun. I mean, Wolverine's just gonna want to like smoke cigars and drink beer.
It's pretty stinky too.
Yeah, and then Batman's just gonna be all brooding and not very. He's not gonna smile much. You know.
Well, Superman was in there too. I think the options, if I could try to recall these off the top of my head, were Superman, Wolverine, Batman, Wonder Woman, Wolverine. Did I say
The Avengers.
Oh, any of the Avengers.
Oh yeah, and Avenger, yeah, because there was just so many options I could have, and then Spawn, which I put that in for me, of course,
Right.
but I don't even want to meet Spawn.
Yeah.
If he existed, I'd want to steer clear of anywhere he was as well. So,
yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to mention one other thing before we get into our first regular segment of the week is, we kind of did trivia a couple times, and then we kind of fell away from it. So I didn't know if anybody had something cool they could put out, because that would obviously be an easy selection for one of my poll questions or Q&A session segment on the Spotify. Anybody got one off the top of their head?
I don't.
No.
Or we can. It could be. I don't know how this is popping in my head now.
Okay.
Because it's been out enough. Who was the character at the end of She-Hulk #1 that showed up?
Who was the character at the end of the She-Hulk #1 that showed up?
Yeah.
Got it.
It's kind of
Sounds good.
it's a current event trivia. You got to be up on the new books too.
Yeah. I just had an idea. I just had another idea.
Of course you
If
did.
you get the trivia, if you get the trivia question right as well, like if someone gets the fun fan phrase and the trivia question, I'll raise it to $7. All right.
Wait, now, Kevin, did you give away the first part of the fun fan freebie?
Yeah. First word of the phrase is sun. Sun.
Mhm.
And I'm not even going to tell you whether it's you or O. You have to figure it out by the rest. I don't want anybody guessing what the phrase.
Well, I've already got the phrase.
You do?
I noodled it through right now.
Okay. I would really love for you guys to participate this, even though you can't win anything. Just do it.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. Anyway.
Right.
At least that's what I think. Okay. All right. So what did we watch this week, fellas? Why don't you go first, Patrick?
Oh boy, I don't think I really watched that much this week. I know we watched Walking Dead. That was sort of a Eugene-focused episode.
Okay.
Other than that, the big highlight, I guess, of the week was the Obi-Wan trailer, which I think or the Obi-Wan teaser that we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Definitely.
But I think most of my regular shows got shunted to the back burner. We didn't watch very much this week.
Hello.
How do I do that? Hello. Yeah, I got this. Hold on.
I hear a lot of clicking.
All right, there it is. Okay. So is Walking Dead? It's in the final season.
Yes.
How many more episodes are left there?
I'm not sure because they divided the final season into 3 parts. There's a break between each segment, and we're currently in the middle portion of the last season.
Okay. So we're in a holding anyway. So what are you catching up? This wasn't a current episode you watched then.
It was. It was
the very last one.
Yeah, it was last Sunday's episode.
Before the break. Okay.
Yeah, we're 2 or 3 into the middle segment.
Okay. All right. So that's all you watched?
I believe so. Yeah, not much.
I guess I'm owning this segment today, unless Mike does something particularly impressive. Mike, go. What'd you watch?
Okay, it's not impressive. I watched absolutely nothing, but I didn't come to the table empty-handed here.
Okay.
My wife found one of her all-time favorite shows that she paid for a few years ago to rent. But it's called Goblin.
What?
Yeah, it's a Korean drama, so it's all subtitled. She found it. The whole season's only one season. She found it free. And here's
It's called Goblin.
It's called Goblin. In his quest for a bride to break his immortal curse, Dakabai, a 939-year-old guardian of souls, encounters a grim reaper and a student with a tragic past. So that is the synopsis of the show.
Okay.
And she absolutely loves it. So it might be one that your wives might want to watch. It's got a lot of the romantic overtones to it. But, I've stood there and watched a couple scenes, and it does look pretty interesting. But I think
where can we watch it?
I don't remember the name of the app that she got on Roku. I should have got that.
That's okay.
You know what? I will do some quick research and I'll get back to you after your review or what you watched.
Okay.
So,
okay.
That's all I got.
You really didn't watch anything all week besides parts of that? That can't be true. Just no geek stuff, basically.
Right. Yeah. I Saturday night, I watched the first 45 minutes of Christine.
Okay.
Which I haven't watched in 20 some years.
That's funny you mentioned that because I actually rewatched Napoleon Dynamite yesterday randomly for no reason, which was awesome. So before I get into mine, let's just kind of go with what Patrick was saying about the Obi-Wan teaser, which was awesome. Obviously, me and Patrick have seen it. You saw it, Mike? Have you? No?
I watched it once. So
okay.
I don't, I just have that one-time view. I can't remember everything on it.
Well, since you mentioned it, Patrick, what do you have to say about it first?
I'm a big Obi-Wan fan. I was a fan of Obi-Wan, the original trilogy, and was, thrilled when they got Ewan McGregor to play Obi-Wan for the prequels. I thought he was just a great fit. So, all the rumors that have been bandied about throughout the years about a possible move. First, it was maybe going to be a movie, then, now a series, and then now that it's finally coming to fruition, I am very happy or excited for this series. Yeah. I hope it lives up to my hype I've built up in my head.
That's the tough part. Yeah.
the trailer looked really good. They didn't really, I don't know how much to say because I think it's pretty well known out there that Hayden Christensen is going to be in this series. Correct? I think that's everybody knows that's the fact. But
yeah.
Well, I don't know about it being a fact. I was the same way with Spider-Man too.
Yeah.
I wanted to, even though everybody was obviously talking about it being a fact with Toby and Andrew being on there, I was still like, you don't know. I didn't want to, count my eggs before they hatched or whatever.
Cook your
chickens
eggs before
they hatch. Yeah. Count my chickens before they're hatched. And so I'm taking the same perspective with Obi-Wan. I've heard that as well, but I'm not counting on it until I see him in a trailer or somebody that I know factually knows just saying it's a fact or whatever,
Right. But that's, I guess, the little bit of reservation I hold out for this because I didn't really think of this. It's funny. I didn't really think of this until I saw the trailer, which really didn't give anything away. But the wheels in my head started turning, and I'm thinking, they're showing Obi-Wan, which you would expect mainly on Tatooine. If these casting rumors come true, how is that going to work? Because, is he going to be off planet at some point, or is this all flashback sequences? And I'm hoping, there's some things there that I hope don't go too screwy, I guess is what.
Yeah, they don't screw it up somehow, right? Yeah.
And one other thing, again, you get in a little bit of spoiler territory. I'm not going to say what the spoiler was, but this week I heard somebody talking about a toy tie-in and a certain character being revealed. And so be careful when you're out there because
They might spoil the
Yeah,
show with a toy,
I mean,
right? Gotcha.
it seems like it's sort of on the level of like, a Luke Skywalker surprise in Mandalorian,
Right.
But we'll talk about that when and if it
When it
actually
happens.
Yeah.
All right. So my first question for both of y'all, I'm assuming I know the answer. Actually, I'm probably going to assume I know the answer from both of you. But does everybody know about Inquisitors,
Yes.
Mike?
Not a lot. I mean, I know there.
Okay.
I thought there was one character, the Inquisitor.
Oh no, so it's a bunch.
Okay.
And did you know that's what those Sith-looking characters were in the trailer?
The trailer. No.
Yeah, those are Inquisitors. And the biggest thing, I hope they dive into a little bit of backstory on Inquisitors more, because obviously I consider myself a fairly well-rounded Star Wars fan, but I don't know, I've had questions about Inquisitors ever since they came about in Rebels, right? Rebels was when they first showed up, right?
I think so.
And they just kind of showed up. So it's like, okay, where, how does this apply to, obviously with Star Wars being a lot based on the rule of two, how does that apply there? Where do they, is there a Sith Academy that they're working on these from, that they're just, one dies, they grab a new one, And then the first Inquisitor they had die in Rebels, he was like the Grand Master Inquisitor too, or whatever. And then they just brought in a new duo of Inquisitors, which obviously they were really tough and awesome too. So, so I got questions about Inquisitors. That's what I was just kind of hopeful seeing the trailer. And I'm the same line with Obi-Wan as you. Obviously, I'm a Boba Fett fan first, but my favorite Jedi by far is Obi-Wan, and I, without thinking about it too much, I'd easily say he's my second favorite character. And so I'm excited about the show in general. With little apprehensions like you were talking about. I hope they don't do with Obi-Wan what they did to Boba Fett a bit, or maybe learn a lesson there if they do stuff like that again. But the Inquisitors was a part that I was really kind of excited about seeing how that's going to play out as well. So I'm looking forward to that. So
yeah, I think I just looked it up because I thought I was right on this. Darth Vader Volume 2, number 8 is, number 6 is the first appearance of the Grand Inquisitor. So I knew that. So I
didn't know that.
Yeah, I knew that. So that's why I thought it was just one Inquisitor. I didn't realize that there was more than one. So
yeah,
but good luck getting that book.
That's the thing, if people aren't in the know, all the Star Wars comics currently being published by Marvel are considered canon.
Yeah.
Part of this new timeline. So
yeah, that's a big book now. It's and even with I think this trailer coming out, it's gone up even more. So
throw me a number.
100 plus.
Oh, I'm dumb enough to spend that kind of money all day.
yeah. It's our tolerances. My wallet's sometimes a little more reserved than yours.
Yeah, I can't afford it, but I'll get it.
You'll get it. Yeah.
Yeah. But this is something I always tell people too. This might be shocking, and I might lose all Star Wars cred with this statement, but I'm not a Darth Vader fan. So I'm gonna lean into saying that the reason I've never heard that before is I don't get Darth Vader comics because I'm not a Darth Vader fan, and that's been a thing with a lot of people. What?
Yeah, it's interesting. Marcus loves Darth Vader, but he's coming at it from a different viewpoint than you. You are introduced to Darth Vader as the bad guy. Mark loved Anakin. And so Marcus watched Anakin's change to Vader, so he just followed Anakin right through to the dark side, unfortunately. But that's why he's such a Darth Vader fan, is because it's still Anakin.
How much he likes Anakin, in the story, I have a completely more complicated, confusing take on that whole thing. Is I hate Anakin, not hate, strong word. I don't hate anything Star Wars, but I dislike greatly Anakin in the motion pictures, but I think Anakin is completely amazing in the Clone Wars cartoon. Like literally when I started to fall in love with Anakin in the Clone Wars cartoon so much, when I rewatched the whole transformation and everything, it literally brought tears to my eyes. I was just like, how could you do it, buddy? How could you do it? I was so transformed in the way I felt about Anakin from the Clone Wars cartoon, because he's so great in that, and multiple times, that it broke my heart more. And watching the Clone Wars cartoon and then experience Order 66 again, same thing, brought me to tears. And I'm being literal, man cry, welling up in the eyes and running down the face. No blithering, babbling,
right.
Crying. But anyway. So what I watched this week, I kind of went off a couple days ago. And the first one is on Mike's recommendation. Sorry for completely covering you there,
Bye,
Patrick.
Where is it?
But this is No Exit, and obviously it shows it's on Hulu. That's what Mike recommended a couple weeks ago. Maybe it was last week. Might have been a couple weeks. But it was really good. Liked it a lot. Definitely a thriller type movie. Not really horror, just, lots of murdery, thriller craziness going on. Yeah, suspense. Yeah, it was really good.
And then jaw-dropping stuff at the end,
Yeah. It's nuts. It's a really good show, but it is definitely special in the let's get nuts category as far as violence is concerned. I mean, and I'm not even talking about gore. It wasn't like gratuitous, just gore everywhere kind of nuts. It was just the way things went down. It was like you said, jaw-dropping, so it was really good though. And then I checked out The Kingsman. That is on Amazon Prime, and it was excellent as well. I'm not a big fan of either of the Kingsmen. I've never read the comics to begin with. We just recently sold those on eBay. A lot for the comics that's based on, or that what that show is based on. And I didn't care for the first Kingsman too much, but the second Kingsman I didn't like at all. So I was apprehensive. That's why it took me so long to get around to this one. This is a prequel to the other two to kind of show how the Kingsmen were formed. So that's why it's called The Kingsman as opposed to The Kingsman. And I thought it was excellent. It was definitely the best of the three, in my opinion, by far. Did either of you see it?
Nope.
It's really good. Check it out.
I'll definitely skip the second one then. Because I saw the first one. I'll skip the second one and I'll go straight to that one.
I'm in the same boat as you, Mike. I never saw the second one.
Okay. What did you guys think of the first one? Did you think it was okay?
Yeah, I think my wife and I both liked it.
Yeah. I read the books, and so I thought it was pretty good. It, like everything, it diverted a little bit, but
yeah. Okay.
Good.
And then I randomly checked this out just because the trailer was crazy. Antlers. I think that was also on Amazon Prime. This is total no holds barred horror. Gratuitous, graphic, gore, type thing that I was just saying No Exit isn't. But it was good. I mean, if you're in the mood for that kind of thing, it delivers.
Yeah, it's on my list.
It's basically about the Wendigo, right? It's Wendigo, right, Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't really want to say too much more than that if you're familiar with any Wendigo lore, Yeah. And then I finished this Peacemaker on HBO Max. I probably, the last time I mentioned it, I was saying I was surprisingly liking it and disappointed in myself. I should have probably stopped there.
Oh no.
Man, it made me so it annoyed me so many times. I don't recommend it at all now. I think I might have been on episode 5 or 6 whenever I had the positive review. The rest of it, in essence, ruined it for me. I won't even recommend it to anybody now.
Wow.
Did you finish
and
it?
I haven't seen any of it.
Oh, okay. I thought you did. Okay.
I just
Yeah,
kind
if
of
you-
warned
it-
Kevin about the big spoiler. I heard there's a huge spoiler at the end.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I don't even know if I want to spoil that. I mean, it's pretty big, but
Well,
and
leave something positive for everybody if they get there. You know,
I can't because I got another negative to add.
Okay.
That big spoiler ticked me off.
Mm.
And well, you know, it didn't tick me off that it was a spoiler. That wasn't a spoiler for anything. I'm just using spoiler as the descriptor for the event that happened. The event that happened ticked me off.
Mm.
And it's not necessarily that it happened. It's just kind of what they did with it when it happened. It just, you know, and basically to kind of give you a hint as to what annoys me is I definitely don't make it any secret to people that as far as content that I feel could be, possibly should be as much for kids as it is for adults, when they totally take it out of the hands of kids but it's kind of a kid thing. I don't know exactly, you know, I'm not good with words most of the time, but it's kind of a kid thing and they just make it for adults. I don't get. So I mostly cursing, especially extremely regular cursing, and obviously the worst curse words and all that, and then just kind of gratuitously as opposed to kind of even being in an appropriate moment. To me, it just irks the heck out of me when they do that with, you know, superheroes and stuff like that, especially because I think they're as much for kids as they are for us, arguably, maybe even more. You know, a lot of people, when they hear, we talked about, you know, kind of being closet fans sometimes, because when they hear older guys like us are into superheroes, they're like, what do you hear? You know, and they judge us on it. So it's arguably more for kids. Yeah. And then they're just F-bombing the heck out of all these things. It just drives me nuts. You know, it's, you know, I literally didn't watch Titans forever when I was excited for that show at first, just because in the trailer, you know, Robin says F Batman, and I'm like, what are you doing? So anyway, Peacemaker, big pass. I won't be participating in any further seasons. And then last thing is this. I got to see this yesterday. I know Mike hasn't. He was supposed to, but it didn't pan out, right, Mike?
Correct.
And then Patrick, how about you?
No, I haven't seen it.
Okay, so I'll keep this real short and sweet then. I'll just say I'll give it, I rate on a scale to 10, I'll give it a 7.5, 8.
I'll take it as
and
an 8. I'm going to hold you to that 8 then, because I want it to be an 8. Because
I got like 5 million things to say about this. What did we say about when we can talk about the movie again? How long?
I don't know.
I should write this stuff down.
Yeah. It's a 3-hour movie, right? So I imagine there's so much to talk about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We might have to have once Patrick and I get it watched, we
just an episode.
Just a Batman episode. That would be fun.
All right, let me do this too. I got this new fancy book. Right. I know we're not into what we got this week yet, but all this is a journal.
Right.
But it's got this really cool compass thing on the front, you know, and pirates, you know, it's leather bound. It's really nice. So I couldn't help but buy it. And I'm like, you know what I'm going to use that for? To take notes during the podcast.
Well, while you write that down, if you want to watch Goblin.
Now we have found it.
Yeah. Well, I texted my wife.
Oh,
okay. We have a Roku TV, so everything we watch is on an app.
Right.
And it is Rakuten Viki. So there's 2 words, Rakutan. Second word is Viki. And it's all Korean TV shows and movies, probably. But
so there's no US based outlet we can watch this in at all.
Well, not that I know of. Because I think if you look it up, people are wondering why it's not on, say, Netflix and things like that.
Okay.
You may be able to get it somewhere to download it, you know, and pay, but on that app, it's a free to watch.
Okay. So. All right, that's good to know. So I got my notes ready. I'm going to write this down so we never have to answer this question again. How long do we have to wait to freely talk about spoilers and everything with movies? Decide now, please.
1 month. I don't know. I don't.
Your vote's a month. What do you got, Patrick?
Yeah, I think 1 month is probably good because if you can't make it within a month, it could be 3 months. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And the likelihood, if you're really a fan of avoiding spoilers for a month, are slim to none. Because most people aren't even trying to come up with standards like us anyway. I mean, they just start posting stuff the day after they saw it. They saw the midnight Thursday showing, and Thursday at 3, they're blogging about it.
Yeah. And I think if we end up doing, it would be fun to do an episode solely based on that. There could be spoilers galore under that month.
Oh, that's true. Actually, no, that's a good idea. We could actually, then the episode could be a notice. This an episode's a spoiler. Yeah, that might be a good idea. I don't know if there's an episode worth of content, though, in my opinion.
It could be a half-hour episode. It doesn't have to be.
Oh, that's true. It doesn't have to be a 2-hour episode. Got it. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to write 1 month. So movie, spoiler, 1 month. Documented. It's in there. All right, so that was all I watched this week. Well, I mentioned I watched Napoleon Dynamite, which that's a great movie if anybody hasn't seen it. It's classic.
It is.
Hey, just to ask one question about that. When you guys originally watched that, did you think it was like an 80s movie?
No.
You didn't, Patrick?
What do you mean by that?
I thought it was a movie that took place in the 80s.
Yeah, I don't think I ever. Yeah, I didn't think that. No.
Well, because the songs they were playing at the prom, were 80s music. Their style was like the 80s. It was just kind of totally hokey. It was 80s hokey, like Midwestern, podunk town 80s hokey to me. That's kind of how it came across. And then with the 80s music, it kind of came across to me like that. It wasn't until later that I learned it's a more modern. What year did that come out anyway? The movie.
Like 2004, 2003. I don't know. So
I didn't learn until later that the time set in that was 2004, the modern time at the time. I didn't learn that till later. So anyway,
it's just the town itself is stuck in the 80s.
It's just so backwards, right? Yeah, exactly.
What's funny is, my wife is not a fan of that movie at all.
Oh, man.
She'll she'll quote that movie all the time.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. All right. So anyway, the next thing I got is Mike's on deck.
Uh-oh.
With the top 3 covers. I'm really interested to see how I fare this week again. Every week, I don't know whether you guys feel the same way. Every week I'm like, there's no way. There's at least 2 that I'm like, there's no way everybody's not picking this.
Right.
And then of course we can see as people vote. So I'm like, what the hell? Heck, sorry. But anyway, so why don't you kind of take it away, Mike, with your top 3 covers of the week.
All right, let me. I lost it. Hold on.
You want me to come back to you? We need a commercial break. Is that what's happening right now?
I lost my binder.
I was gonna say the stakes have been raised. Mike's putting a lot of work into this.
I found it. I found my binder. It's black, and it was up against my other computer sitting here. It's black as well. So.
Okay.
All right. So it's 10 covers that we had, and I'll just read through the covers that we were voting on.
That were an option, okay.
Correct. Detective Comics 1057 B, it's the Lee Bermejo cover. Nightwing 90, Bruno Redondo cover. King Spawn number 8, Kevin Keane. World's Finest number 1, the Art Germ. Titans United, KO New. World's Finest number 1, Jason Fabok. Batman the Knight, Raphael Albuquerque. Amazing Spider-Man 88, the second printing, which is Carlos Gomez. Reckoning War, it's a Trial of the Watcher or something like that. It's a longer title. Number 1, it's Javier Rodriguez, and Avengers 54, Juan Frigeri. So,
and the winners are.
This was a record-setting week. Let's put it that way. The cover that ended up getting the most received the most votes any covers received since we started, and we had 5 people max out on points this week because I'm keeping track. They voted all 3 of their covers were
Well, that's going to have to be another conversation
Wow.
you're going to have to cover after, right? Gotcha. But
Yeah. So
Okay.
we'll start with 3rd place. And we've got the Jason Fabok cover for World's Finest.
That's pretty sick. I picked that one.
Yep. And
Patrick?
So basically this is Marcus, Tyler, Mike from New York, Kevin, myself, Jesse, and Emily. So Patrick was not on that list.
No, I was not.
Yeah,
Okay.
This is great. I thought it was funny. Tyler voted for it initially because he thought the random pigeon up top he thought was pretty funny.
I would hasten to say that's probably meant to be a dove, being it's Superman.
Yeah,
But
that's what I told him. I said,
"Oh, maybe."
I said there's similar.
I totally
because of the dove.
Well, I totally went with the pigeon, like Tyler said, just because they're on a rooftop, and that's kind of in the city on a rooftop,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good argument, Pat.
I'm surprised they didn't include a few more, to balance out the bats.
The bats, right?
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that being a balance, that makes them even make more sense being a dove. Yeah. But I thought this was a perfect it's a perfect World's Finest cover. I mean, that even more so.
Is it? Because it came in 3rd.
Well, there's better covers. I didn't say it was a perfect of all covers.
Well, it's okay. Here's number 2, World's Finest.
Yeah.
The Stana Lau art term cover.
Yeah, I like that. I like that cover a lot.
So this one coming in 2nd would be a better cover than the one we just.
Even though I like this cover more actually than the other one, I'm just saying that just having that majestic Superman Batman kind of look.
Yeah, I agree.
Cover is perfect for World Finest. Yeah, you just mess with me. Got it. Yeah,
I am. So this one, the Jason Fabok had 7 votes. This one has 8 votes, and it's Ayla, Jesse, Cora, Tyler, Tom, Mike, Johnny, and Kevin. They voted for this one. Patrick,
gorgeous,
and neither did I.
Gorgeous cover.
It is. Yep.
It's amazing how his art's just ridiculous.
Yeah. But what we've got next is the number 1 book, the most voted for book we've had, with 11 votes. And honestly, I think I can probably put Lee Bermejo up every week, and he would probably dominate because he's just such a phenomenal painter. And I don't know if Patrick, if you know this, does he work digitally, or does he really paint these?
No, I believe he's a painter because just a quick side note, he was picked as an artist to do the first Hellboy book that Mike Mignola was not able to work on. And I think because of a little bit of stylistic choices, but I think mainly because of time constraints, he was kicked off the book.
Yeah, I can believe it. I mean, that's a stunning cover right there.
Yeah, it is.
So, and he's the regular on the Detective B covers. So I could probably throw a Detective B cover up every time, and it'll probably win.
We'll put it to the test.
We'll see.
Yeah.
So, like I said, this had 11 votes. It was pretty much everyone except for a couple people. Patrick's one of them.
Patrick, which ones did you vote for? Do you remember?
Yes. The Starfire cover, which I thought was just great, nice and colorful. The Spawn cover, because I like the composition coming up through this fire escape. And the Avengers cover, because it was sort of like a throwback to the olden days where the cover told a story, and they used the word moon and everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The reason, the thing I had to get, that detective cover was a close call for me. The reason I didn't like it, I didn't like Commissioner Gordon. Like, what's he doing there? I'm assuming, he's the one that called Batman in. What's he facing? Who's he looking at? And that is he looking at?
Yeah, he's looking at you.
Why didn't you vote for me?
Yeah, exactly.
That's true. It kind of
I
breaks
love the shot
wall
of the
there.
bat signal with Batman behind it there. I thought that part was awesome, but I just didn't like Commissioner Gordon's placement and the way he was looking back.
Yep. But
Well, they were all great. Once again, Mike, you picked 10 good choices, which I think that deserves to be mentioned too. What you had told me last week, there's literally hundreds that come out every week that Mike has to sift through to basically choose Mike's top 10 to then the rest of us get to choose out of those top 10 for the top 3. And we'd hope that if we hypothetically voted on all the hundreds of them, we'd still kind of come to that top 3. You know what I'm saying? So you do a good job, Mike.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So if you can read that.
I cannot.
Those are the standings.
Okay.
You can't read that? All right.
Yeah, you might want to split that into two, like in the future.
I'm going
split it
to
into 2 picks, so it could be closer.
Because I ran out of room, so we actually do have a second pick.
Oh, okay, gotcha, nice. Okay,
and
that's clear.
That's much better. So,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's the bottom there. Sorry.
Yeah, I noticed. I'm on the bottom of the list, both lists there. Yeah, it's
well on the left you can see. So Lexi, Max didn't vote. I assume Max is in the field and can't.
Yeah.
But these are. Yeah, unfortunately, the bottom 4 didn't even score this week. Sorry. So that's what the equals is. You guys didn't gain any points, but there was. I should have blown that up. So basically, Tom Berger has consistently. Let me hide that while I talk. Tom Berger's consistently picked the number 1 and 2 book every week.
Wow.
So that's how he's in first. So this week we had Jesse, Kevin, Mike from New York, and Tyler. All 4 picked cover 1, 2, and 3. So basically, they get 6.5 points. If you pick all 3, you get a half a point as a bonus.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed that was a new thing you added this week.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, last week because so far it's only happened 5 times. 4 times this week, and then Emily did it last week.
Hey, and so I wanted to, since you've mentioned Mike from New York, because I'm assuming this might be a question for some people that, hey, where do I go vote on this? This is an in-house voting system. Basically, all the people that get to vote cannot pick the fan fun phrase, okay, and vice versa, okay. So you mentioned Mike from New York, and people are like, "Who's this guy?" We haven't covered him in the podcast or the video, but I'll put this up real quick. This is a caricature I had made. So if you look at the left, that's Johnny. People are probably familiar with, and then there's Mike and then there's Tom, the giant Batman. I'm going from left to right, and then Patrick, me in the front, and then on the far right there, that's Mike from New York. For anybody who's wondering, he is a childhood friend that kind of has a similar story with Johnny that I have with Mike, and similar, not as extensive, Patrick with Tom. That's how we all kind of came together. And we haven't gotten Mike from New York too involved in the show, but we'll shout out right now to him again that, hey, whenever you're ready, Mike, we're here for you. So participate in other ways if you want, but that's good to hear he participated in the in the votes, so that's cool.
I'll put these up so they're better to see, and next time I'll have them broken down.
Okay.
And also say Mike lives in New York. He's from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, right.
Mike from Pennsylvania via New York, but I'll just call him Mike from New York.
Right. Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
One thing I noticed last week when I was watching the show for the first time when you were showing the covers, and I love this, is how BC is putting the cover credits by the UPC box.
Oh yeah,
that's great.
Right? Yeah, real small. It's great.
I wish all companies would do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult to, some of the signatures, if you don't recognize it, there are certain ones that just stand out that after a while, but other ones.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right. So that was it. Segment's done.
Segment's done. That's a lot of work for a few minutes.
Yeah, that was awesome though. We enjoy the payoff,
Yeah.
especially not putting in the work. It's especially awesome. So thanks, man.
Oh yeah, it's fun.
So this one really shouldn't have too much work for anybody aside from just enjoying your life and having a couple of dollars to spend. But you know, I want to get into the geek stuff we got this week. So who wants to start this one off? Or you want me to start it off? I can go there. Okay, I got my regular books. Batman, Spawn, you know, all the current titles that came out this week. The only thing I got besides for all of that, I got a Spawn lot from eBay to fill in my continuing journey of filling in my Spawn run. That's a pretty good price too. I got that for like $25, so it's like $3 a book, you know. So that's pretty good. And it's so funny too. If you try to find most of those singularly, that's kind of how I go every time I'm trying to fill in a gap. I'll go look singularly, and then if they seem too high priced, then I'll try to find them in a lot. And it always breaks down to be much less. Like I couldn't find any of those books for, I think I was needing 40 and 41 next. And I always try to get a couple at a time. I couldn't find 40 for like less than $8, but then I got a lot of 8 of them, which included 40 for $25.
Yeah,
you know, so
that's
anyway,
great.
yeah. So besides from my regular stuff and those books, that's all I got this week. What'd you get, Patrick?
Another slim week for me. I just got my DCBS yesterday, but I haven't had a chance to open it yet. So
Okay.
yeah, that's it.
Mike, did you get anything?
Just regular books and regular shipments. Nothing out of the ordinary.
Didn't you what'd you get in your video? Didn't you get some extra special stuff from that one shop that isn't, what's that? I always forget the name of it. Not
Things
not
from Another
DCBS.
World.
Yeah, Things from Another World, yeah.
What did I get from them? Yeah, I got it. They're kind of just books that I forgot to order, and I last minute add them. But I've got one thing. Let me grab this real quick since I have something.
All right.
All right. Ugh. Wasn't too far away. So I did buy this for my wife. It's called One Week in the Library. Yeah, 1 Week in the Library, since she loves books and libraries.
Looks like there's a bullet hole in that book.
That is crazy. Oh, you know why?
Is that green?
It's green. Hold on. Oh,
that's hilarious.
So it's here that every story ever written is cataloged and monitored by a single man who's begun to notice something strange. The books are rebelling.
That's awesome. That sounds cool.
So yeah, I ordered this for her. She started reading it one morning. She was getting ready for work. I came in. I was leaving for work before her, and I caught her just sitting here reading it. I said, "You're going to be late."
Where'd you get it from?
Things from Another World.
Oh, you did get it from there too? Okay.
Yeah.
I never even heard of that. Is that new, or did you find it from the past, or?
It came out a bit ago. I remember seeing it a while ago, and then I just stumbled across it. Maybe I saw the solicitations. Oh, 2016.
Okay, so it's been a while. Gotcha.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great oldie but a goodie, though.
Yep.
Something my wife might love too.
Yep. So there you go.
So okay. So I wanted to kind of talk about the what I'm referring to as the unique subject of the week. I don't know whether how many people saw through the website. I actually highlighted in there what this upcoming week's unique segment of the week will be, or unique topic of the week, I called it. And I did that. Obviously, I did that on purpose to let anybody know who comes to the website what they can look forward to. I mean, if you listen to our live stream or podcast regularly, we've kind of gotten into a rhythm of regular segments. But obviously, you know, so if anybody knows about us, they'd know what we talk about regularly anyway. But I wanted to highlight on the website so you can check that out every week. I'll put it up as soon as we have it. So it might be at the end of today's live stream. We might talk about it for a minute, decide on next week's, and I might put it up nearly immediately. for you to be able to see what you're in store for as far as a unique topic is concerned in the following week. So it might make people that are like, I really don't care about that comic stuff, but it might be something that might be a different topic that might, resonate with them or whatever. So I don't even have a banner to scroll on this one. It's so fresh. But we talked about this unique topic of the week being tips for comic collectors that are new to the hobby. I want to say new comic collectors, but I don't want it to be, some comic collectors that aren't interested in new books. They're just like Johnny. He only gets the old books anyway.
They're old comic collectors. Old comic collectors, not old comic collectors.
Right, now you're talking about the age of the collector. Right, yeah, that's why you got to put it comic collectors that blank. Comic collectors that are new to whatever. But anyway. So anyway, I wanted to kind of talk about what we as vets in this realm would give tips. And the way I looked at this was, what tips would I have given myself had I known what I know now? When I first started this journey. That's kind of how I looked at it. So did you guys, I know we talked about this a few days ago. Did you guys come up with some ideas as well? You got a little list? I got a list right here.
Yeah, I have a list.
All right, Patrick, you wanna come across or say the first tip?
Pat, you start.
Yeah, because I don't really have, I guess, too much to say here, other than, but I think it's an important one and a big one, is collect what you like, because if not, what are you doing it for? I mean, there's a little bit of a double-edged sword there, where you might come in on the speculator end of it, and you're thinking you're gonna make a ton of money off what you collect, but if you're not having fun doing it, if you're not reading what you buy, I sort of wonder what the point is. So and that doesn't just apply for comics. That can apply for toys, collectibles, statues, movies. I mean, buy and collect what you like. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Was that on your list, Mike?
No.
So I'm going to chime in on that because
I agree. I think that's probably the number one thing is buy what you like. That way, you get.
Hold on a second. You're saying it's the number one thing and it's not on your list? What the heck?
I knew someone else was going to cover it because it's the number one thing.
Okay. Nice save. Anyway, go ahead. Continue. Sorry, I didn't mean to mess with you.
Because that's, I think comic books are made to be read. So if you are reading them and you're liking them, that's everything from there is winning.
Yeah.
Because if you're a speculator, you're not going to be buying what you like. You're just, because your end game isn't to enjoy it.
Yeah. So I stated mine differently, but I in essence had the same thing. And the way I put it is to trying to be a little clever. I put invest in stocks, not comics. Get comics to read and enjoy the art and collect. And again, under the same vein of what you're saying, because you enjoy them, not because you're trying to spec for money, because more often than not, you're going to be losing.
Especially because we're talking about the new collector,
Yeah.
You can get into
especially
some of that,
then,
get into some of that later on down the line, but
once you become a Mike, the spec guy from Exceller Comics, you can get into that game, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Which we try to help a little bit with that, but yeah, definitely, like you said, Patrick, it was a new collector. That's like Mike said, the number one advice we can give. Yeah. So, all right, Mike. So, what one do you have on your list then?
I'm going to go with the ones that I have pictures of first, and this is something that I don't even know when I learned this, and nobody taught me this one. And it's so crazy. Put a backing board at each end of your short or long box. Because what happens when you stick your fingers through that and move it, if the cover is facing that way, your fingernails, at some point they will bang the cover.
Yep.
Unless you're buying them just to read them and you don't care about condition, you don't need to worry about it.
which that's not on my list, and I shouldn't try to. That might be on someone else's list, but just to chime on, adding on to that with it not on my list is which. Even though we don't recommend investing, we do recommend protecting your bonds, or recommend as an investment for a new collector. And I have this. This is literally my number one on the list, but it's not number one because I think it's the most important. It's just literally the first one I thought of, which is like you said, like to put the backing board blocking the handle holes on all comic boxes. Yeah, that's literally the first one that came to mind for me as well.
Or you learn the hard way why that is.
Yeah, exactly. And the biggest reason that was the first one in my head is because I was, again, organizing my comic collection yesterday or the day before yesterday. And I made sure every single one, because I didn't even have every single one of them with the board at the end like we're talking about. And I know that already. Yeah. So I was making sure that everyone had it. So anyway, so first one I got is to an alphabetizing tip. So I'm sure there's going to be lots of controversy here. This is something that, you're going to hear our opinions, but I think it goes without saying that this is just a preference. There's no opinion or preference that's wrong. But this is how I do it. This is what I would have told myself, because this is definitely where I currently landed. And I feel confident that I'm going to be here forever. And the reason I say that is because I've gone back and forth over the years between what I'm alphabetizing and how I'm alphabetizing for all the miscellaneous weird different ways there are to alphabetize with comics. I've landed at I'm alphabetizing titles that have multiple titles, i.e. West Coast Avengers, New Avengers, Savage Avengers, all of that, to alphabetize them by the name of the team or the character. So Savage Avengers, West Coast Avengers, just obviously regular Avengers, New Avengers, they're all under A. And then just, Avengers would be first. Then I guess the first one in that example would be, or the next one in that example would be New. So I'd have Avengers, then New Avengers, then Savage Avengers, and then West Coast Avengers in A. Because the way I'd look at it is I'd have it Avengers. The way it's in my app, again, shout out to CLZ app. The way it's in my app is I actually switch the title to where they all say Avenger, and then it says comma West Coast, or Avenger, comma New Avenger, so on and so forth. But I recommend that alphabetizing multiple titles with characters or teams by the character or the team. So
where's X-Men versus Avengers?
When there's something like that, it's whoever's first.
Okay, gotcha. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny because
annoying because I'm sorry, that actually annoyed me because X-Men's my team.
Yeah,
Avengers is third tier for me. Yeah, and Avengers versus X-Men starts with Avengers, so it's the only X-Men centric title that I have in the A's, and it drives me nuts. But I'm sticking to my own guns.
Well, as soon as you come up with these rules, because we all do it, you're going to end up breaking your own rule because they're going to force you to do just that.
I'm not going to, Mike. I'm here forever. I know. I'm just
or not. I know. Like kind of, you have to compromise. Something like that.
Yeah, I know it's tough. That's the biggest point. Is it's tough not to go back and forth. What about you, Patrick? What do you think?
I'm all alphabetical all the time. Can't help it.
So you got New Avengers under N?
Yeah, that's the same way.
Okay, okay, here we go.
Don't even
ask about me. West Coast.
Yeah,
because half the comics they literally listed West Coast Avengers, and half the comics they literally listed Avengers West Coast. What do you do there?
I can't remember. It's been so long since I looked at my stuff.
If you were to do it today, which would you do?
I don't know. I basically follow the indicia in the beginning of the book, alphabetically. And I think I may even go beyond even Mike here. I think he's sort of more alphabetical, but everything, DC, Marvel, Independent, everything is alphabetical. No separation at all. Everything's just straight alphabetical.
Yeah, that's how I am too. I don't do what Mike does, which Mike's is cool too, where he separates the companies. Mine are all together as well, So I go. Okay, what about words like? Well, you said new. You put N under. You don't mess with the though.
No.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, thank God. That'd be a total mess.
Yeah, it'd be like New Avengers, the if it had a the at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Mike, I'm sorry. Yeah. I think I interrupted you when you were.
Yeah, I just do Marvel separated from DC, and then everybody else, all the independent publishers outside of the big two. And it's alphabetical.
Yeah. So,
but except for like Spawn, I did put all the Spawn books are in one spot. And this is from like CLZ. If I'm working on Spawn books, I didn't want to have to go all the way to K for King Spawn and all this, so I just retitled them in there to all be Spawn first. And
that's how I have. That's my attitude with all of them.
Yeah,
we talked about it yesterday, and this might give some vet collectors a little bit of an aneurysm. But all my Spider-Man are together.
Yeah,
I got Amazing, Spider-Man, Web, Spectacular. They're all nonstop. They're all in the S.
Yeah, you told me you put Detective under B for Batman.
And I did that because they started putting Batman above Detective in the title. At least on the cover. I haven't looked at is it indica or the way you said it, Patrick? Which is the right way to say that word? But anyway, I don't know what it is in the indica, but on the cover it says Batman Detective Comics. So I'm like, okay, I guess this is a B now.
I think it just says Detective Comics.
Because you
can prove me right if you want.
Do you want me to prove you wrong?
Because they've changed it from time to time.
Okay, so you're admitting it does say sometimes Batman.
On the cover, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Oh, you're talking about the indica.
Yeah, it's always Detective inside.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think you're probably right too. But the cover is what drives me nuts. Yeah. I can't take it. I can't take it.
That, yeah. All right, let's get back to the subject at hand here.
That was a good topic, though. I figured that would be the longest one. Okay, who's next? Go ahead. Patrick's next, I think.
No, I mean, I only had really the one big one. I'll just chime in on anybody else's if I have any comments.
Okay. Hey, does it sound intense when I do this and I talk louder like this? Does it get intense?
It's intimidating.
Okay. All right, Mike, what's your next one?
I do have to mention real quick, though. It's funny, these things, I don't think we've really ever discussed things like this, off podcast or just on the, on the Facebook group, but it's funny how many of these are common between us. And definitely. I know the one that Mike has coming up on down the line here. It's like, I know we're kindred spirits, Mike, because of this, so go ahead.
All right.
Oh yeah. When similarities are come to my mind, you two are definitely, I think arguably the most similar in the group, which is a good thing. Yeah. All right, Mike, go.
All right. The next thing I'll do, because I have pictures.
Yeah.
When you do get those key books, I recommend saving your money and only using Mylar for keys. And this is a picture of a 4mm Mylar, which are really difficult to deal with. It's just extra. It's so thick that you cover that. You fold that down. They don't sit in the box very well because that top part is it's just larger, so it pushes everything forward. What I recommend is the 2mm Mylar for your key books.
Awesome.
So there's a big difference there.
Yeah,
you can see it and feel it. So other than those, just a standard bag and board. Me personally, I don't like modern size. It hugs the books way too much, and then there's too much movement within the box, and you'll end up getting like an indentation on the cover from the book in front of it. So I think the Silver Age bags and boards are the best. So,
well, you actually, I got, those are two separate ones for me, but chiming in on both yours.
or Silver Age in regular size. I think it's called regular.
Well, I think it's called a couple different. They call it regular and modern. Depending on the company of the bag, they might have different terminology. Yeah.
Silver Age and the bag, I think, is silver regular.
So my comment about Mylar, first of all, you got more extensive on it with the actual which Mylar is best, but I just put, and then you said keys. I just put to Mylar, year old or more books of over $20 in value. That's what I would do personally. And the reason I have the year thing is because all kinds of, newer books will have this hot flash of being over to, I don't recommend Mylaring something as soon as it's worth $25 because 2 months from now, it might not be worth $25 anymore, and that can get kind of expensive. So I'm trying to minimize what I Mylar as much as I, in my personal opinion, think I can. So if it's a year old and it's worth over $20, it's probably going to stick. So I recommend Mylaring those. And I put $20 just as kind of a random number you can kind of pick. But advice to a new collector, if you get a book that has blank value and you think you want to keep that, or you should be caring a little bit more about keeping that one in shape rather than regular bags and boards. That's what I'd Mylar. And then my other one is agreeing with you completely, Mike, that silver bags and boards are the way to go, in my opinion, too, because of the things you said as well. And I also, just to chime on to that too, from the same company.
Yeah.
Because silver will be different with BCW versus heroes are hard to find bags or whatever, so get the bags and the boards from the same company. So it doesn't, because I think we did that, especially when getting bags were thin. We had silver bags from BCW still, or silver boards from BCW. And then they had this other I don't even know what brand of bags it was at our LCS that we just got. And the board totally didn't fit in the bag. It wiggled in the bag, so it was too much space. So same company as well. So
right.
Did you have anything to chime in on that one, Pat?
No.
Okay.
All
right. So my next one, this might seem kind of hokey to people, but again, with me just dealing with this week a lot, being older, thinking about my back, and really I had boxes I had stacks and boxes kind of everywhere as my organization. And sometimes the boxes can be annoying when you pick them up and put them down, and what you're under the impression your books are facing you or away from you. So this is something I started doing a couple years ago, which again, it might be hokey, you might think it's dumb, but this is what I do. I actually indicate what is the front according to the way the comics are facing in the box. I'll put front, so I'll know when I put my box down the way I want to, when I want the books facing. I don't put them down backwards, and then I'm gonna, especially with long boxes, then I'm gonna be like, oh man, I gotta pick this up and turn it around. So I'd actually put front, and then to double down, I then would put back on the other side. And then to triple down, I put a R and an L on the side. So no matter what part of the box, no matter what side of the box you're looking at, which way your books are facing for when you're manipulating the boxes a lot, which I do a lot. So it always drives me nuts. I'm like, oh man, especially it's like 1 second after I just picked up a heavy box, moved it and set it down. And I look at it, I'm like, oh man, I got to flip this around, being a big baby about it, when there's 30 of them, that can get taxing. I didn't come here to work out. I came to, organize my collection. Yep. So anyway, I mark my boxes with the front, back, right side, left side indications of some type. So
make sure it's the box, not the lid.
Right.
Yes, not the lid. I actually did make that mistake at one point in time because I'm dumb like that, But yeah, and another important thing with that is you got to make sure it's on the box below where the lid would come, because I've done that too, where I've indicated like right at the top of the box. I put the lid on, you can't see it anyway. So. Okay, Mike, what's your next one?
My next one is about tape. if you don't use
Okay.
resealable bags. I think Kevin's come around. He prefers resealable bags. I tried them for about 500 bags, and I like to tape it myself for one reason. When I take the book out, I completely remove the piece of tape, and I actually crinkle it up and I throw it away. I get it out of my area.
Wow.
And I do that because I have already set books on tape, caught books while I'm taking it out. I catch it all the time. I sometimes I get overconfident and I'll still pull a book out with tape on it, and I'll get reminded that's not a good idea. And I've ruined books by having a resealable bag, taking it out, and the flap is still up, so that sticky part is still exposed, and I've set a book on it, and it'll, especially a modern Marvel book, those covers are real thin, and that takes the ink right off. So I tape everything and throw it away. You just need a little small piece of tape. You don't need 3 inches of tape. And I would recommend not going straight up and down, one piece at an angle. It can go one way or the other, just whatever you prefer. Sliding your finger from whatever direction pops it right off. I go our LCS, they put straight up and down on both sides, and you try to take it off and it just messes up the bag, messes up the tape, everything. Yeah. So, but the key, get rid of that tape when you're taking that book out, because it'll damage it.
I got my dog penned upstairs, but she still manages to be part of the show.
Yeah. So Scotch.
All right. So
Scotch Magic tape.
Yeah.
That's the kind you want to use.
I've got to chime in on that. It's on my list as well. And basically I just put when using tape diagonally. That's a big one, like you mentioned, because then it'll just tear if you don't. But I'm still with the resealables. And I get what you're saying, because that's happened to me too. But I'm going with the risk and just being careful with that factor, because the dog ears drive me more nuts.
Yeah,
I like to put tape. Yeah, I like to put the tape in just one single piece of tape in the middle, which will ultimately make the edges dog ear up. And then I think Johnny told us before he does the double tape on each end so it doesn't dog ear. Mm-hmm. But then what's happened to me with that in the past is I've gotten books caught in the middle of the of the flap of the bag before as well. So I've landed on the resealables. But I will say this about the resealables. Everybody seems to have, even when we were short bags, when the industry or whatever was having a hard time providing bags, everybody always has the regular bags. But it was even tougher to find the resealables. And even during regular times, when times aren't so tough, resealables can't be found. So it drives me nuts how I would love to just have resealables for all of them, but they are slim to find. So I still deal with regular bags regularly. So it's not something that I'm firm on. But I like the resealables a lot at this point. But so, all right. So I agree with everything you said, basically, just to add that. Mm-hmm. All right, then this is a big one for me, and I'm sure we've all said this to ourselves many times, but I still constantly say it to myself, and again, someday it's going to stick. Make a day a week, or even if it's every other week, just some kind of consistent time for yourselves for logging, reading, and filing as you get the books, rather than letting them build up and then having to deal with all of this at the same time. And it becomes a big chore, which ultimately will make you put it off even more, especially for procrastinators like myself. Put it off even more, and then it builds up more, and then blah, blah. And then one day you're going to have the strength to push through, but you're going to have 5 long boxes worth of stuff you got to do all this with, and a bunch of books like we talked about. You should be getting these books to read anyway that you haven't read, that you're behind on. Everyone always hears us comment about how we need to catch up. So just try to get into some kind of consistent groove, one day a week, every other week, whatever. and read it, log it in whatever way you're using to log it, and then file it, get it over with while you got 6 comics that week, or maybe even less. Tyler only gets, well, he had a big week this week, but if you got like 4 titles a month, you might only have 1 week where one title comes out. Just read it, log it, file it immediately. Don't do your best not to let them build up. That's big thing for me.
Yep, I agree.
Did you have something to say about that, Patrick? You seem to react to that one pretty heavily.
No, it's a great idea in theory.
Yeah, exactly. Right. These are all theoretical, that if we could train our young self to be this, it'd be perfect, right?
Yeah. Even myself now. Well, it's hard now because just availability and price. The store I went to the other day, it was $20 for backing boards. So they're still at the store. I probably need. I've got about 2 months worth of books, just sitting there, bagging boarded. So, not by choice.
Yeah, that's actually one of my other ones that's kind of separate, is to always keep a backstock of tapes, bags, and boards.
Well, I do that, but then I run into where I run out of money because I bought too many books and I don't have money for bags and boards. So I use up all my spares.
Did you just say your piece of advice is to make sure you buy bags and boards first, then, before you buy comics? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I know.
Yeah, the book's going to disappear. The boards will be around again.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
All right, so what was your next one, Mike?
This kind of goes back to what you're saying, logging books. Use an app. Obviously, we all use CLZ. It's very inexpensive. A lot of great tools in that app. And they also, not only do they do comic books, they do books, they do music, movies. So you can get all kinds of things. So use an app. Yeah. League of Comic Geeks is a great one that I use for upcoming books. You can set your own pull list on there, so you see what books you have coming up. There's just a lot of information. There's a community on there, so you can talk about stuff as well. So do research in there, and that leads into be careful of variant covers, so you don't accidentally buy the same book. A lot of books are having variant covers now, so if you're aware of what's coming out and what each issue looks like, that helps. So that's I got.
Yeah, that's that is a really good point that I didn't even think of. Yeah, not only just maintaining what's in your collection, but also to keep you from buying stuff you don't intend to buy because it has a cool variant cover and you thought it was a different book.
Right.
You mentioned we all use CLZ, but Patrick actually doesn't. So what do you use, Pat?
That's right.
I use Comic Base.
And did you say that's old software? So you don't recommend a new collector getting into that, or is it, you think it's good for new collectors?
Yeah, I think it's still being supported today. It's just I'm behind. I'm very behind on my logging, and one of these days I'll get back around to it when I can organize my collection a little better. But yeah,
you should log as you get them. No, I'm just kidding. I know.
Not a bad idea.
It's easy to talk trash like I am right now whenever I've had a good week or so.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to pretend for 5 minutes. I don't fail far more often than not, as far as what you're describing to it being, all this being in theory stuff. So my next one is how you maintain your books in the boxes. And Mike actually taught me this one, I believe, with tabs, in between the titles. And, I was putting a tab. Well, actually, I was spending the money on they actually have tab boards. You can buy a pack of them that have the tab on the top. That's another thing I learned. This isn't even on my list, but because this is what Mike told me or taught me, that just use old crappy backing boards that you get, from old books that you replace or whatever, and buy the small pack of like 50 tabs and stick those on the top of an old backing board and use those to divide your books. And I used to try to divide them by title, but that gets way too much. So now I do, again, what Mike does, where you just put a tab per letter, so you got a tab sticking out above all of your books with these are where the T's start. These are where the,
And what's nice
starts,
when you
whatever.
do that, it's flexible. So the
that's
board
another
you're
thing
getting
too.
is
Yeah.
rigid. Yeah. And these are, you put the lid on it and they all just flex right down.
Yeah, when you spend the big money on the actual boards that are created with a tab on it, yeah, you put a lid on it and it basically just goes down as far as those tabs are. Right. But yeah, if you do it what you just described with the tabs you just put on an old board, then they'll lay right over when you put the box lid on. Yeah. So anyway, that was my next one. Mm-hmm. You got another one, Mike?
I have one last one, and that's read the books that you get, which we all intend to do, but we get behind because you don't want to buy, 7, 8 issues of something and you start reading it and you realize that you don't like it at all. And you've wasted, $30, $40 on stuff that you have no interest in reading.
Yeah, that's a big one. I want to start to incorporate that more into the show and the website and, social networking in general as well. Because I think, ironically enough, it's kind of an understated thing. We talked about how I have a percentage how important a cover is to whether you purchase a book or not versus caring about the content and stuff. And that kind of relates to the whole reading aspect. But then we get behind relating, obviously, to the reading aspect. And it's just, read your books. It needs to be said more than you think it does. Just as a constant reminder. That's important. That's arguably the most important thing. So spending all this time on everything else is fun, but reading should be the focus.
That's the whole point to why it's being created in the first place.
Yeah. All right, so I have 7 more.
Wow.
I'm going to cut through these real quick, though. So, and a couple of them, again, Mike, you taught me. I like what you did recently with the Exceller collection, to make a label for the front of your boxes to what's in the box, rather than writing on the boxes. And, I enjoy writing on the boxes. And
yeah, you do.
My collection tells.
Sharpie loves you.
Yeah. All the front of my long boxes are a wreck because there's 18 titles that were in there and they're all scribbled out and then a new one at the bottom, But just make some kind of label on the front of your boxes to what the contents of the box is. This is a financial tip. So rather than buying customized boxes, and I'm going to give a little shout out to Troy on this one because, it's one of these obvious things that me and you used to actually do in the past, Mike. But Troy brought it to the front of my mind recently when I was looking for a customized Spawn short box. And I said, they don't exist because, Todd really doesn't mess around with, merchandising his stuff to other companies much. But just, you don't even have to customize. You don't have to buy a customized box, customize it yourself. Take a comic that you spent $4 on.
Cut it up.
You don't care. Yeah. And cut it up. Take the awesome covers you love on comics that aren't worth anything or the ones you find in quarter bins. Put those on, if you want to make a cool Spawn box, and I think it'd actually be even better than a customized one if you customize it yourself, because it's like, I did that and it'll look exactly the way you want it. I think that's a fun a cheaper way to customize your boxes, which I think is very cool in general. But
could use your old previews.
Yeah, old preview. That's a good idea too. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Unless it has Miles Morales on it, and then that's a whole other subject. On first appearances.
Right. Then on the flip side of that financial argument, I also wish earlier, and again, this is an affordability factor. If you can get plastic boxes as opposed to cardboard boxes, as soon as you can get them, start doing it. Because I think Johnny pointed out a few episodes ago as well that you buy it, you got it forever, as opposed to how many long boxes you think we've thrown away in our lives. I don't know about you guys, but lots, and they're not as expensive as a plastic box, but if I could do the math on the long boxes that I've thrown away in the past, or have gotten ruined in one way or the other and caused me to throw them away, versus the cost of a plastic box, I think it might pan out if you can afford them, because they are expensive, and they obviously protect the books better. If you have how many times you hear about, I had a flood, or my cat went to the bathroom on my boxes, or whatever the case may be. You got those plastic boxes, you're safe. Well, the flood, you're still going to have some problems, but you'd still be in much better shape than you are with the cardboard boxes,
Yeah, and I was going to throw it, that's a great advice for a new collector. Some of these things we're talking about won't come into play until you've been collecting for 20 years.
Right.
Yeah. 20 long boxes, things like that. But if you start doing the habits now, it pays off.
Yeah.
20 years down.
Another financial one, but this is something we're dealing with now, again, with a lot of experience, but I wish we would have thought about this a long time ago. Got a visitor, Pat. Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, I finally, now we got cat visitors, because I mentioned that in the original trailer. We might even have some cats and dogs. There you go. Now we got a cat. Anyway, if you like slabbing books, which if you've heard me talk about it in the past, I'm not a big fan, but some people are. And if you like slabbing books, get on a cycle of that as soon as you can, since it takes so long to get books back. If you get on some kind of good cycle, then you could basically feel like you're getting a book back a month, but you kind of have to start that cycle a year ago. If you want to go that route, I think that's a good way to, because I feel like we're still in a place right now where slabbing isn't on our mind, because we haven't gotten the returns from the ones we've invested already. But I imagine once our cycle kind of plays through, it'll be easier once we open a box and we get 2 or 3 slab books, and it's awesome, to then also put in an order that month as well for the new books we want to send off for slabbing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So getting on a cycle like that, I think, is really cool.
I just did that personally this month. I sent one book, and it's Venom number 9, the 1 in 10 animated variant. So it's got Spider-Man Noir on the cover, and I found it for 99 cents. And
yeah, that's a great pickup.
Yeah. So that's this month, and then next month I have another one that I'll just send one a month, and then in a year they'll start coming back one a month.
Yeah, it'll be great. Yeah, that's exactly my point. Yeah. So, then another thing I did a while ago, but I'm so happy every time I do it, is when you're going to pick up your books on New Comic Book Day, it's cool if you have one of those hard carrying boxes. We've got there's a few different versions of them, but they're about, what's that, like maybe 5 inches thick. Yeah, there you go. Get one of these when you go on New Comic Book Day.
Magnets right there.
Protect your new books as you get them. And if you're going to New Comic Book Day regularly, you probably shouldn't have a week, especially new guys, or girls. You shouldn't, you probably won't have so many in one week that won't fit in there. If you do, get a couple of them. But man, how many times do we wish we would have had those when it's rainy outside?
Yeah.
Or just when you got driving to do afterwards, and you're all like holding your hand on the bag on the seat beside you so they don't fall everywhere. But you have one of those, you can put them in there, boom, you're set. So get one of those for your new comics every week. This is another thing I wish I would have done a long time ago, but they have long box drawer shells. You can put your long boxes in for when you stack them.
Yeah, I got one of those.
You get a bunch of.
No, I'm kidding.
You got one of those there too? Okay. Yeah. Oh no. Okay. I was gonna say we need that accelerant. We're short right now, like 3. And that's what reminded me to put this tip too. So we've spread out an acceler. So we've got like 3 stacked, then 3 stacked, and 3 stacked. And I'm like, I'm not getting those bottom ones. I'm not messing with those unless something pushes me to mess with those bottom. But if they were in a shell, I'd totally mess with them, because when you have them in the shell, they just come out like a drawer and go back into the drawer. You don't have to move any other books out of the way. It's great. Do you have those, Patrick?
I have a couple. I wish I mean, I wish they were all like that, but that's.
I know, right? That's what I'm saying. If you were a new collector and you could go back and convince yourself, and you had the money, of course, well, don't you wish you did that from the beginning? It would be great, right?
Or
the only draw. Sorry.
Or, as Mike brought me into the world of filing cabinets.
Yeah, filing cabinets. Man, yeah, Mike doesn't mess with boxes at all. You didn't even give filing cabinets advice. That should have been a tip for you, Mike. Hey, don't mess with boxes. Just give filing cabinets.
I'll have a segment maybe next week. Just a quick segment on file cabinets.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
With some numbers on how many each drawer. Yeah, we'll talk.
I'm not there yet. That's all you and Patrick. So, so anyway, get the drawer shelves as soon as you can before your collection gets out of hand. It's super useful. And I think the only drawback to those, Johnny pointed out one time, which is true, is they in essence make your collection take up twice the space, though, because you not only need the space where your boxes go, but then you need the space in front, which is the equivalent size of the boxes, to pull the boxes out of the drawer. You can't get them out if you don't have a full space in front of it to be able to pull it out of the drawer. So he thinks it in essence doubles your space, which is true. But I think it's worth it. So then last thing I got, and this is another shout out to Johnny. I wish you were here. And it's not that we don't know it. It's just, I would say probably the three of us especially think about it the least. This is all about Johnny now. Just wait till your books are in the dollar bin. I love my LCS, and obviously I love comic books, so I understand, supply and demand and supporting that, and capitalism and all, and I'm all about it. So this is the way I look at it. Excuse me. So spend 50% or less of your comic budget on new books. So if you decide you can afford $40 a month on books, just spend 20 on new books and seek out the dollar bins or a cheap lot on eBay or quarter bins. They're out there, or specials. Like we've got stores around here. I'm sure you're the same, Patrick, where it's like buy 10, get 10. They'll have crazy specials that you can get books at $1 or less. If you got $40 and you're looking to get some books, spend 20 on the new ones just to support the industry, so it keeps going, and then spend the other 20 on getting more books for your buck, and go that route. Because I can't tell you how many times, and again, I'm using Johnny for this because I think every time it comes up, not every time now, it's happened enough time, but for a while there, every time it came up, it was Johnny there like, hey, look at this. This was just out 3 months ago. And we're like, oh man, I just paid $5 for that. And he pulls it out of a 50-cent box, or whatever. So it's just the books. That's why we're talking about not speccing too much, especially as a new collector, because you're going to get burnt most times. So if you want to spend the $5 a book, spend it to read it. And if you are looking to add on your collection regularly, seek out the cheaper ways, because there's lots of them, and you can get books that are only a couple months old in a dollar bin all day long. So,
well, that's a great tip for new readers, new collectors, because they can, see what's out there and sample and see what they like.
Yeah, that's a good thought too. Right, a cheaper way to kind of feel things out, to even see where you want to be in the hobby. Yep. So, all right. So that's all I had on that topic. I actually had, I put top 10 list on this first, and then I got to like 11. And I was like, oh, I got 11. And then I was like, oh, wait. And I got to 17. So that's. So anyway, anybody else have anything else to chime on in that, the unique topic of the week?
Budget. That's it. Try not to go beyond your budget, because then you start, using the electric bill money and can't read in the dark.
That's true. That's just good financial advice in general. Yeah. Anyway, aside from comics, just don't overextend yourself. It ain't worth it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The books will be around.
Your life will get better, and those books will still exist. And just like I pointed out again, most of them will be cheaper than when you were planning on buying them originally anyway. Right. So, all right, that takes us into the next topic, which is Patrick's collectibles on the horizon.
Yeah.
I saw you've got quite a bit to talk about this week.
I got a few
Attached
things.
picture
I don't want to
editions.
go too long, but I just want to mention, I had my pictures all slotted in there, but I had this whole intended item I wanted to show you guys, and a whole bit behind it, and it all fell through. I was going to show you guys. I wanted to show you guys the new Star Wars Darksaber that's out on the market.
Oh.
Okay.
I had a whole.
Oh, wow.
A whole bit written up, and I was going to have Chelsea chime in and say, I believe this topic was covered last week, probably much better than you could do anyway. So I want to give a shout out to Mark for filling in last week. He did a great job. He did such a good job that the Darksaber is nowhere to be found on store shelves around here.
Wow.
Nice.
Totally blew my bit, but he did a great job filling in for me last week. So thank you, Mark.
Very nice. Yeah.
So basically, I'm just gonna let me switch things around here. I'm going to probably blow through these pretty quickly. I just want to show everybody it's amazing, when a little bit of marketing behind a movie comes out. I think even more so than the Marvel movies, Warner Brothers is out in full force supporting the Batman. It's crazy,
Yes.
Sorry.
The number that Walmart has these big pallets set up of Batman product. Just a lot,
Yeah.
But hopefully, there's some cool stuff. A lot of McFarlane's making these planograms and a lot of cool figures there. Ranging from role play stuff for kids to collectible stuff to the more kid playability type toys, you know what I mean? And Legos always in there too. Then moving on, I wanted to quickly touch on this. This is a Walmart Marvel Legends exclusive of Doctor Strange. It was on the website for a while and then it disappeared and it came back this week. So if you're looking for it, it might still be a bit available, but it's sort of like the classic comic book Doctor Strange. And last year, there's a digital sculptor, Paul Harding, and I shared it. I don't know if anybody remembers this, where he was doing like busts of Marvel in the 70s, and he was in Doctor Strange was one of them. I think they're also doing a Hulk, but this Doctor Strange comes with the original appearance where Doctor Strange had the blue mask, and there's also an alternate head of sort of like a spell casting Doctor Strange in there. And it also had some nice Kevin Nolan art on the back there. But actually, this goes back to a topic we had covered before. They scrubbed his signature off the artwork, so he gets no credit in the box anywhere. But a nice little Kevin Nolan Doctor Strange on the back.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
And I said I was going to try to get away from the superhero toys, but it just missing last week and something popped up on my radar this week was I'm a big fan of this line, which is the Marvel Retro 375 figures. This wave is currently hitting stores with Dark Phoenix, Wolverine, Venom, Mr. Fantastic, and Falcon. So it's starting to pop up at Targets.
I'm all over that. Yep. I gotta have that Wolverine, especially. Yep.
The one drawback, the one nitpick on that Wolverine is you can't tell from this picture. I don't have a close-up picture, but for some reason they did not paint the black stripes on his boots. It's kind of a bummer. Maybe they'll get to that in a revision wave down the line. It's a minor nitpick, but I love these. They're basically doing characters from the 70s and 80s time period. They're trying to stick to that. So you're getting a lot of classic looks, not a lot of modern characters. They saved the modern characters for the Marvel Legends 6-inch line. But so far, I'm really loving this line. And the reason I brought this up, not only was the Wave 5 hitting stores, but Wave 6 was announced this week.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Only 4 figures. They're going to do like a fill-in because people are having a hard time finding some of the older ones, which I appreciate. They're trying to keep the line collectible to everyone, and I think they're throwing in Black Panther and Black symbiote Spider-Man in this wave to fill it out, but this was the first look we got at Thor, the Thing, Green Goblin, and Black Widow. So, again,
I have
these
a
are
hard time not buying every single one of those. Every time I see them, they're all so great. Yeah,
and it's not only the figures, but in the time period they're hitting on here. But I love the card art. They look great on card. I haven't opened any of mine. I think they look great on the card as is, but
we actually have some of these for sale on Acceler right now. Yep.
Yeah.
We've got Daredevil, Elektra, Electro, and I think that might be it actually.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I mentioned these are the 3 3/4 inch scale, so they're the smaller figures. And I thought this was interesting because I think it was like 2 weeks ago. McFarlane had been announcing some new toys, and he showed what he's calling the DC Page Punchers. And basically, I think they're closer to 4 inches, but they're in that smaller scale. They're very detailed, not a lot of articulation, but they look really cool. McFarlane's known for the sculpting. Hopefully, they'll get some really good paint apps, sculpting. They might not have a lot of action to them, but at this small scale, maybe that doesn't matter as much. And they each come with assuming a reprint of a comic clamshelled inside. So that's kind of cool too.
Yeah, it's very cool. Yep.
And
yeah,
I don't know when these are coming out, but he showed, the 4 there.
Yeah.
And I like that. I'm starting to sort of lean towards that smaller scale again. I like a lot of the Marvel Legends, a lot of the Star Wars Black Series, but man, they start taking up a lot of room. And even these smaller figures take a lot of room, but it's that smaller scale size, scale that we kind of grew up with, with the Star Wars figures and G.I. Joe. I kind of like it. But yeah, that was it. I didn't want to take up too much time. I don't think there was a lot of new stuff coming out this week, but that's it for the collectibles on the horizon for this week, I believe.
Yeah, I don't get cool toys, but those McFarlane ones are very interesting to me.
Yeah, I like them.
Yep,
interesting. I hope they do well. It's good. Marvel has tried this too, where they, going back to the early series when I think it was Toy Biz, where they tried to include the comic book with the figure. Why not? I don't understand why Marvel doesn't do more of that with movie tie-ins. Putting the comics out there. So if you can put a reprint in there with a figure and sell it to a kid and get new readers, it seems like a no-brainer to me.
Yep. Just like the old G.I. Joe cartoons. They all put that all together. Yeah, it seems like it. Yeah, like you said, it just doesn't make sense not to do it.
Yeah.
All right, but that was awesome though. That was a bunch of good stuff. I definitely want it all. But as I've said before, I try to resist getting into toy collecting for multiple reasons. Biggest one, I can't afford it. I guess the second biggest one is my wife is already annoyed with everything I get already. So
space.
That's why she's annoyed. Yeah, because it bleeds out of the space I'm allowed to have into the space I'm not supposed to have. Right, exactly. Like the kitchen table on most weeks, for example.
Yeah.
All right, so that'll move us into our final regular segment. And we're going to have to, and I think we talked about keeping this one a little bit shorter and sweeter than we have the last couple weeks as well. Kind of more talking about the comics we read this week. Kind of going into less of explaining the story a little bit more into just like a general synopsis of what happened in the book. Kind of, that's what we kind of discussed a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So do you want to start us off on that one, Mike?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I have my pictures in the wrong order. Okay. First thing I have, Apache Delivery Service number 1 and 2. And this is written by Matt Kint, and the artists are Tyler Jenkins and Hillary Jenkins does the colors. I read the first issue a couple weeks ago, and I was not overly impressed. I read the second issue, and I loved it. So I went back and reread the first issue, and it was so much better. Basically,
Okay. Yeah, what's the deal in general with it?
So the Apache delivery service is actually the airstrikes. There's the main character is his name's Ernie Nez, and he states many times he's not an Apache. They keep referring to him as Apache. He keeps saying, "I'm not an Apache. I'm a Navajo." But basically, he goes out by himself and he calls in airstrikes because he doesn't like to. He just likes to be alone. And at one point, he gets captured, and by this gentleman right here on the right, and that's in issue. Then we go to issue 2, and they are searching for Nazi gold in Vietnam. Now, I don't know a lot about history, if there's any Nazi gold in Vietnam, or if it's it's just a rumor that it was there and they're going looking for it. So this all takes place in 1967 Vietnam.
Okay.
And he basically needs Ernie for tracking and for searching, since he knows the area so well, since he's calling out these airstrikes. He needs him to help him find some caves. So
Okay.
that was my first read. And then I went on to issue 4 of The Rush. This is written by Cy Spurrier, and Nathan Gooden is the artist. And I thought this was interesting. He's also the art director at Vault Comics, and he does a lot of art for their books. So things I found out in this issue that I didn't realize before. And here's some internal artwork for it. But the main character, her name's Nettie. She had gone out looking for her son. She decides to go back to the town she came from, Dawson, and she still believes her son's missing. She believes he's still alive. And on the way, they run into this guy. I thought he was part spider, but he's actually not. He actually rides the spider.
Okay.
And yeah, he's really, really crazy looking with his face, especially kind of all swirly like that. So on their way back, things go downhill quickly, and I'll leave the rest for you to find out when you read it.
Okay.
So those are the 2 books that I read this week. And let me find one more. Oh, and then I'll just throw this out there. Everybody needs to go read this.
Okay.
Read it. Because they're making a sequel.
Yeah. Well, I'm just waiting to get the copy of yours that Ty has. That's when I'm going to read it.
Yeah.
And just a little update on that, as far as lending books, because I still am meaning to lend you Mouse. I got another 40 pages read. I got about 60 pages left. That's a big book. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So that's coming your way soon.
All right.
All right, Patrick, you ready? You want me to go next?
Go ahead, Kevin, if you can.
Okay, I don't have any cool graphics.
All right, Patrick, it's your turn.
What's that?
I said, Patrick, go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just going to show mine. So I got Detective 1054 red. Oh, is there green in this too? Oh, it's slightly green, so it kind of loses itself a little bit. But anyway, Detective 1054. This is another tip to new readers. Try to keep up as often as you can, because if you try to randomly read a book you're not up on, sometimes you don't know what the heck's going on. And that's kind of the situation with this book. There's a lot of craziness going on. I can't even begin to explain exactly where it's at, but I can tell you it's well done, and I enjoyed it, although a little bit confused. But it's one of those things too. Another tip for a new reader: you plow through a couple 3 issues, you catch up in no time, but this is the first detective I've probably read in a year, so That's why I'm so far behind. Then Spawn 327. This was the cover that I voted for last week too that didn't win.
Right.
But love the cover, obviously, and the story's great. As I like with the covers of my books to have to do with the content of the book, this is a story really centered around Haunt. And this is the other thing that's kind of funny too. We talked about it too, Patrick, and we didn't even comment on this cover, but his bottom half of his mouth is exposed.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about that with the action figure you
right.
pointed out. Yeah. And then, and every part of the book he's in here, you can see the bottom of his mouth.
Okay.
So, I guess we sounded, especially me being a Spawn fan, sounded pretty ignorant, acting like he doesn't usually look like that. But that was a great book. I loved it. Like I said, it's kind of centered around Haunt, and he is poisoned, and he's on this mission to find the antidote. To put it plain and simple, that's kind of the main focus of the book. And then, speaking of books I haven't read, I've got a ton of these. Tales of Science Fiction, John Carpenter. I mean, this cover isn't particularly awesome, but this is a number 1 in a story arc called Civilians. And that's these aren't like numbered each book. It's just the number in the story. So this is going to have 3 issues. This is one of 3 of the story arc called Civilians, and then there'll be another Tales, John Carpenter Tales of Science Fiction. Then that will be a totally different story, and it'll be 1 through 4, whatever it is. And there's nothing that I can explain in this really, except a bunch of weird stuff's happening with people. You can kind of see people falling out of the ground as kind of falling out of the air as kind of a spoiler. But no one has any idea why it's happening. Kind of has what's that bad Mark Wahlberg movie?
The Happening.
Yeah.
The Happening. Yeah, whatever you said that. I was like, that sounds like The Happening.
Yeah, this is very similar to The Happening too. Yeah, the people are like doing stupid things, and they even put us inside their head too, them talking to themselves like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? As they're walking out into traffic. So there's stuff like that happening. Like I said, very similar to The Happening. That's what's going on in that book. And it's well done. The art, I don't even know who did it. The art isn't too overwhelming, but it's not bad. So I'm going to continue reading those. And I've got literally probably 50 of these Tales of Science Fiction. I'm going to be reading them more because, not only because, I'm a sci-fi guy, but partially because I mentioned how I loved heavy metal and reading that recently. And this kind of has a heavy metal type feel to me as far as the way the stories are told as well. So I'm going to probably be revisiting those. Those will probably be on my what I read for the next foreseeable future. Because I'm going to catch up on all the old ones, and then as the new ones as they come out.
Yeah.
So that's what I read this week. Mouse, and then those 3 books. What you got, Patrick?
Okay, so I think
this graphic. I like the graphic.
I had an empty spot, so I wanted to fill in. Yeah, I had. I think this is kind of from the last 2 weeks, but
okay.
Not a lot. But I didn't think I was going to sit down with that image timeline and look through it as much as I did. But it's funny the way time sort of compresses in on itself, and you don't realize how much happened in such a short amount of time. And reading through those early years of Image is just crazy. The one thing that kind of struck me too was the comment that when the guys were sort of getting ready to leave Marvel, they went to the Marvel CEO Terry Stewart, and kind of told them their plans, and he told them, quote, well, let's just say this was all compiled by Jim Valentino, one of the Image founders.
Okay.
And he says this is all fact. He didn't want to. He just wanted to lay everything out on the table. And basically Terry Stewart told them, "You boys don't get that anyone can pick the cotton," saying, you guys are a dime a dozen. We can fill in. We can get anybody to draw these books for us. It doesn't. You guys, you basically don't matter to us. And I always I've seen references to Todd calling Marvel the plantation.
Yeah.
So now things kind of make sense.
Yeah,
where this was coming from. But Image eventually was formed in '92. But then it's funny how quickly things sort of went awry. In '95, Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld went and did Heroes Reborn back at Marvel. It seems like that was like so far on down the line, but it was just a few years later.
Yeah.
And then Mark Silvestri resigns from Image. He eventually comes back, of course. Then you have Rob getting voted out by the rest of the Image founders, and that was in the '96 time period. And then finally Jim Lee selling all of Wildstorm to DC was only in 1998, 6 years after Image was founded. It's hard to wrap your head around how all that happened so quickly.
It's a crazy story, definitely. Yep.
Yeah. And I won't spend too much time on Sweet Paprika and Devil's Reign. Paprika is sort of right in the middle of their storyline. It's one big long continuous story by Mirka Andolfo. Great art. She's a very humorous writer, and I think she's finally to a point where whoever's helping her with the English translation, things are starting to hit a little better. Sometimes there was a little bit of awkwardness where she didn't quite get like phrases and American terminology down, where it kind of seemed clunky, but it's getting a lot better. But I still enjoy the book. Devil's Reign, I think it was, even though it was a good book, it's sort of treading water. It's number 3. Not a lot happened here, but it's still a strong book. Chip Zdarsky knows how to write all these individual characters, and they all seem to mesh and make sense. They seem on character. Nobody seems, out of left field. They all seem like I said, on character, who they should be. They don't act out of sorts. So I'm still enjoying this as an event book. Everything sort of meshes together, and it's still entertaining to me.
That's good to hear. That's good
yeah.
to hear. Yeah.
Again, I think they owe this to the fact that it's directly spinning out creative team and all straight out of Daredevil. He had been building towards a lot of these things in his run, and this is just sort of his chance to, spread out across the Marvel universe a bit more and bring more characters in. And so far, so good. Inferno, I think this wrapped up a few months ago. But I think there may have been some delays, and this is Jonathan Hickman's. I don't know if it's his swan song to the X-Men universe, or he initially planned this out as to be, a 3-act play, as far as I can read, and he put forth a lot of great ideas, in my opinion. I really enjoy what he started out doing here, but it seems as though, and from what I've read or heard, that Marvel kind of didn't want to move along so quickly. They liked this status quo. They wanted to get more books out of it, more mileage out of this, what the X-Men are doing currently in the Marvel universe. And so they either cut things short or padded a little bit too much, I think. And Jonathan Hickman wanted to move on. So he's still sort of the overseer, and there's a possibility that he may come back to do these 2 other acts, but he kind of wrapped up the first part of his story here in this Inferno 4-issue miniseries. And he basically he changed some things, but he kind of set things, as a lot of writers do, back to this sort of a status quo where other writers can take it from here until such a time he maybe can come back and do those final 2 arcs. But I liked it. We'll see where they go from here. The thing, it was kind of a little bit choppy about this book was they used, I think, a rotating cast of maybe 4 different artists. Not 4 different artists on each individual book. They are on each book, so you might get a few pages from artist A, a few pages from artist B. So that kind of, while it wasn't totally jarring, I think it would have been a little smoother if it always works better, I think, if you have one artist committed to a book. But this was, these were all, I think, double-sized issues. They had a lot of pages to go over here, so they kind of had to divide up the work. But bottom line, I'm a Jonathan Hickman fan. I like what he did here, and I guess we'll see where they go from here. I mean, I'm reading. I kind of put off reading the current X-Men book till this wrapped up, so I got to jump back up on there and see what they're doing and see if I still am on board and see if they're kind of, growing with the seeds that he planted, X-Men wise. We'll see. But that's I didn't want to spend too much time. That was it for the last 2 weeks, I think.
Well, that's definitely on my radar as to what I need to read soon too. So that's good to hear that you liked it.
Yeah, not a lot of. It was a lot of dialogue, a lot of, just going over and trying to wrap up what they needed to wrap up to move on. I think not a lot of. It's kind of short. Not a lot of characters really involved. It was mainly, Professor X, Magneto, Moira McTaggart, and the White Queen. A lot of just sort of their machinations trying to wrap this storyline up. So we'll see where it goes from here.
Yeah. All right. All right. Awesome. We did pretty good. And I think you mentioned it a few weeks ago, Mike, that, it's a good motivator to keep up on what we've read,
Yeah. Especially, when you've got other people counting on you, you kind of bring your A game,
Right. And I think, like I said, we need to be a little bit more practiced on a synopsis covering of each book, because like Patrick wasn't here a week and he had 8. I envision reading more than 3 as soon as possible. I'm sure you're probably the same way, Mike. So if we've got like 10 books, we need to have a way to rattle off.
Yeah.
Hey, I read this, and this is the deal, and boom. You guys are better at this kind of thing anyway, too, because you're all talking about the artists and writers and everything. I'm like, it was good. But I think people care about it both ways too, so that's good. Yeah.
What I was trying to do, and it seemed like Patrick did the same thing. I read 2 issues, and he read, 4 or 5 issues of a series. It's easier to wrap that up in a nice package.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So.
All right. So, you guys want to try to do a recap? I got a couple off the cuff, so.
Yeah, go ahead. You do them.
Okay,
I might come up with one.
All right, so Obi-Wan is awesome, and Inquisitors are interesting. All right, Pat, anything?
Contests are fun. They're
Nice.
for the fans.
Nice.
They're free.
Nice.
So remember,
Nice.
catch the live stream and catch us on the
Podcast.
Spotify podcasts.
Yeah, and answer through the website, right?
Answer through the website.
Yeah.
Mike?
Once again, I'm Legend. The book is always better than the movies.
All right, I got another quick one. So being a new comic collector is tough, but don't give up. Don't give up. It pays off. It's worth it. I've often said to my wife and many others that I think guys like us, no offense to the guys that aren't like us. I'm not trying to get in a fight with the stud outside that doesn't read comics, but guys like us tend to, for lack of a better way to put it, kind of enjoy life in a different, arguably better way that, like, sometimes when, life's tough and it can get you down in all these miscellaneous ways, with us having hobbies like this, it's kind of easy to get over it with just changing our focal point to this kind of stuff that we love, So, I mean, that kind of goes with all hobbies. So I'm just applying it to our hobby particular, having a hobby in general is great. So anyway, being a new comic collector is tough, but don't give up. Don't get frustrated. Just keep finding what you like, and you'll reach your groove. So, anybody else?
Nope.
That's it. All right. So then, just a couple fan reminders to close it out. Then, so one, please answer the questions and take the poll on Spotify on the Spotify app for the podcast. Please, like to get more of that going. And then an update or a reminder on our schedule that an edited podcast of this live stream will be out tomorrow. Then a pre-recorded midweek crawl through podcast will be on Thursday or Friday at the latest. And the Saturday short show, you said, Mike, that's going to get back to actually Saturdays this week?
Unless we get snow.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Saturdays.
And then, of course, another live stream podcast next week. So that's our schedule. And then just to throw this out there, too, follow us and subscribe to Exceller Comics on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And then, of course, regularly stop by to see what we have to offer on the eBay store at Exceller_comics. And then now check out the new Exceller.com, ExcellerComics.com, with all the new cool stuff we've got on there that we plan on updating regularly. I don't really have any kind of time frame as to when any of that kind of stuff will particularly happen. Just if you check it out every couple of days, there should be something new up there to check out regularly on at ExcellerComics.com. So I'll do it. You guys got anything else?
Nope.
Yeah, one more thing.
All right.
In last week's vote, I voted for Spider-Man.
What? Oh,
I voted to meet Spider-Man.
Okay.
All right. That's all I got.
All right. Let me grab this. Okay. So, all right. Don't forget, appreciating great art is awesome, and reading a great story is fun. So why not pick up a comic book and do both? Exceller out.